Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to every nook and cranny in Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Southwest Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana, who's receiving this 100,000 watt signal from our transmitters here in Houston, Texas, originating at Caroline. Folks, we are going to have a great show for you, but we will not forget that as well, listening to us over the magic of the internet are our international listeners in Barcelona, Spain, London, England, and many other places. Folks, we are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. But before we get started, it's incumbent upon me to get to the studio with the folks who really make things happen. And today in the studio, by his lonesome, is the one and only Jack Van Bebba. Good morning, Jack. How are thou doing?
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing just fine, my brother. I'm doing just fine. How are you doing? All good, I hope, and ready to go?
Yeah. I've got a full page written off your latest newsletter.
Let's go for it.
I'm gonna let her rip. Okay.
Let her rip.
Yes, the super rich are taking full advantage of the working class. Anytime you hear record profits, it's a sign. Those record profits were made off the hard work of the working class. Are the workers going to continue to accept this treatment? At some point, the workers will revolt. When it comes to beating back these fascist policies the super rich are using on the people, the solution is simple. Quit paying the people who are enslaving you. We have to slow the money moving up the chain by not spending, to send the message up the chain, we've had enough. Slow down consumption of goods and services, auto loans, home loans, save your money. When they see the consumers are not spending, that sends a message. When people start canceling their insurance, sends a message to big healthcare. When people stop paying their taxes, it sends a bigger message.
That is 100% right. It sends a message. And you know what, Jack? It's interesting because I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic what happened. People stayed home. People didn't go to restaurants. People weren't doing anything. And we were at a state of panic, the corporatocracy that is, because they knew one thing. That was an inflection point, and they knew that when we came back, things could either stay the same or things could be different. One of the reasons you didn't see them really come out very hard against the stimuli or whatever is because they understood that ultimately we are the ones with the power. So keeping us somewhat engaged was important. But you know what? Old ways die very hard, and bread and circus is back. And for those who don't understand what bread and circus is, or who don't know what bread and circus, you always wonder how a small group of people, a very small group of people with no intrinsic power, just a small group of people. The one thing they have is the ability to collude, the ability to fool you, the ability to put you against each other. And that's what they do. In the olden days of the monarchies, etc., there was this concept of bread and circus. We give you cheap food to keep that belly full from growling, but then we have to do something to entertain you so that your extra time, the time you're not working in the fields, the time you're not doing anything, instead of doing things that makes you think, make you wonder about how to make society better for us all, you are just chiefly entertained. So they create a lot of reality TV, a lot of easy things to watch so that as we get home from being tired, we don't have to think about doing things that are too complex, too complicated. We don't want to hear all the, we've been working hard. We don't want to hear all the stuff. So we get cheap TV. They make cheap programs, entertainment, Big Brother, Survivor, all these things where takes little effort or little money to keep your eyeballs trained, to keep you waiting on the next. I told a story about watching Jerry Springer and some other programs and understanding. I would think that I'm a fairly, guy that is fairly serious, etc. But I spend a few hours listening to a Jerry Springer or Oprah Winfrey or any one of these things and realize how addictive these things can be. And in the process of doing that, it takes your eyes off the ball. You're so into these reality-based things that you forget to really centralize on your own reality. You're so much into somebody else's reality. And that is a thing that luckily, I would say, been able to drag yourself out. Many of us are able to drag ourselves out of this reality realm, whether it is these stuffs on TV or other reality-based things or other things to take our minds off that which really afflict us. But I tell you what, an article, well, let me give you the title of the show. The title of the show today is AIPAC and Jamaal Bowman, former conservative pundit, defines Trump, the working class revolt. AIPAC is attempting to buy New York 16 to oust Jamaal Bowden. Former conservative pundit Jennifer Rubin was not kind to Trump. And the super rich will continue the pilfering until the working class revolt. I probably will not get to all the topics, but you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to get, as I think it's Paul Harvey used to say, the rest of the story. We prepare and make sure that we have a full program for you every single day. In fact, more than we're likely going to be able to cover. But that means in case we don't get a lot of callers, we still have the full airways for you. So, folks, just to let you know, the call-in number is 713-526-5738. Again, that telephone number is 713-526-5738. And you can call us at any time. If you have something to say, you want to point out something, we are here. Anyhow, the first part I want to start with is based on what Jack was speaking about that came that I released in the newsletter last night. And it was an article written by Les Leopold, which at Common Dreams, one of the progressive rags that I like to go to because they cover things that are really of interest to the working class, the middle class. So he wrote an article titled "Pillaging by the Super Rich Will Continue Until the Working Class Revolts." And yes, the super rich is concerned that the working class will revolt. And it's one of the reasons they invest so heavily into misleading us. They invest so heavily into us fighting each other. They are the ones that do a whole lot of that to make sure we fight each other. So here's how he starts. He says, "There comes a time in the history of a nation when extreme inequality turns into pillage. If economic power is concentrated, so is political power, and the wealthy are able to do whatever they damn well please. They can lie, cheat, and steal because they know they won't be held accountable. And that's what they've been doing. Lying to you, stealing from you, and understanding that there are no consequences. And who's the biggest impersonation of no consequences for doing wrong, for stealing, for lying, for cheating? The current or the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, is actually proving that statement. He's lied continuously about what his record was as a president. He's lied about just everything before he got into the presidency. He's lied about his wealth. He's cheated people out of their monies by creating a false university. He's cheated his 501c3, his charitable organization, for taking the money that people donate to it for himself. He has pilfered the working class as people came and worked for him to build his different hotels, etc. Many of them were left holding the bags. And for that, he stole from them. He, as his wife was pregnant, he was messing around with call girls, if you will. Again, think about it. And his reward was to become president of the United States. And too many are still not holding him accountable. So we can start right at the top where we see we have given some people a pass to do us wrong. And at the same time, we continue to suffer without realizing the cause of that. Now, the question is, from Leopold, have the super rich now taken control of our political and economic system? Some current news make me worry. The answer is absolutely yes, sir. Let's start with the food industry, the food cartel that includes General Mills, PepsiCo, and Tyson, which has been jacking up prices nonstop since 2020. Why are food prices up 25% since then? These giants blame supply chain, which they created and which they've outsourced, etc. The rising cost of labor, that's a lie, because the American labor, if you take a look at the cost of labor relative to the productivity increase, it's stand still. People haven't been getting more money in the aggregate. And the rising prices of other inputs required to produce and distribute their products, that's a lie. We never really had an oil shortage. What we had is a created shortage by people saying, you know what, there's a lot of oil on the market. Let Saudi Arabia produce less oil. Let's produce less products so that we can jack the price up by creating a false shortage. So they've lied to you. They've lied to you. And now many of you are saying, oh, Biden, under Biden, we got inflation. What you got was the result of what these people have done. Make no mistake. It wasn't Biden. It was the corporation. And until you understand that and believe that, we will continue to have these false realities. We can't. These giants blame supply chain and rising costs of labor and the rising prices of other inputs required to produce and distribute their products. It is not their fault, they say, but the real culprit upon closer examination is stock buybacks. By raising prices and then using the cash to buy back their own stocks, thereby increasing the market value of each share. Stock buybacks do not increase the value of a company, but they move money effortless to the largest of the street share owners and to a company's top executives who receive most of their compensation via stock investments. Again, so these guys who run these companies, they get subsidies from the government. They increase the prices on you, and then they use that extra landfill in profits not to pay taxes on the extra money they're getting, but to do something called stock buybacks. And when you buy back stocks, there are no tax consequences. So you're simply taking money out of the corporations. And guess what? And when you, the individual who got that stock buyback, go ahead and realize the stock gains from that stock buyback, guess what happens? They pay a lower tax rate than you, the person who was working. Yet so many of us defend the system. Yet so many of us continue to put our heads in the sand as opposed to realizing who the culprits are. Oh, it's Biden under inflation. I did better under Trump. First of all, from a mathematical standpoint, that is not true. That is a provable lie. That is a provable lie. They tell you, and then we repeat. So many of us instantiate that and we believe it. And then we go say, oh, Biden did this, but I'm sorry. It simply is not true. Look at your stock options for those who have stocks. Look at your 401k for those who have 401ks. And of course, for the most who have none of that, they pay the price for the pilfer. As food prices shot up 25%, the 10 largest grocery and restaurant brands have together returned a pledge to return more than $77 billion to shareholders. So here we go. All these companies that are supplying your grocery store, they raised their prices by a bunch. And they told their shareholders, guess what we're going to do for you, folks, shareholders? We are going to give you $77 billion in stock, not only stock appreciation, but actually dividends. And that dividend come from us making more money. And that us making more money come from us inflating prices. It's called inflation. No. It's not called inflation. It's corporate greed rate. All right. Don't call it inflation. Call it what it is. Corporate greed rate. So they told their shareholders, we are going to give you $77 billion. So every time you say you're mad that your prices in the grocery store is going up, every time you are mad at Biden by saying, why is it so expensive? Remember, these companies promised their shareholders an additional $77 billion. Whose money is that? That's yours. That is that extra money you're paying for eggs, for cheese, for lettuce. Because the farmer and the guy picking the lettuce, he's not making any more money, but the shareholder was promised $77 billion. And guess what? He or she is getting it. You know, he or she is getting it. Don't be fooled. Let's be smart. In related news, California fast food giants have claimed that state's 2023 minimum wage law, which raised wages from $16 to $20 in California, killed 10,000 jobs. Oh my God, raising wages killed jobs. Oh, so what should we do? We should not give people more money to give them a living wage, just so that employers can employ more people. But, you know, even that was a lie. A closer look picked up by the Los Angeles Times showed that the industry cooked the numbers. They lied to you by comparing employment in September with December. But every year, September is within the peak dining out season, and in December, people dine out least. When adjusted for seasonal variations or compared with the employment levels exactly 1 year earlier, both standard ways of measuring employment levels, guess what, my dear brothers and sisters? The numbers of jobs actually increased by 7,000 after the minimum wage law was enacted. In other words, they raised the minimum wage in California. And unlike the lie from the corporatocracy that said 10,000 jobs were lost, the reality is 7,000 jobs were gained. And it's not hard to understand why. If you are paying people more, the people who get paid more are the people who will spend that money immediately. As they spend that money immediately, guess what it does? It increases economic activity, and increased economic activity means you need more workers to cover that increased economic activity. It's not rocket science. It is just how things work. But they lie to you, and too many believe it. Boeing recently crashed into the news again. When company CEO Dave Calhoun was roasted by a couple of congressional committees about its shoddy production processes, there were plenty of outraged performances, but none of the so self-righteous lawmakers had the cojones to ask about the impact on safety of Boeing's $61 billion in stock buybacks, or about Calhoun, who hauled in $30 million in stock incentives while Boeing lost $1.6 billion in 2023. It is possible that maybe, just maybe, Boeing financed those buybacks by laying off workers, moving work to lower wage subcontractors, and cutting safety corners. Radio silence from Congress. Yeah, they wanted to roast this guy from Boeing, but at the same time, the capitalist structure that created the crash in Boeing, those plane crashes because of cut costs, that door flying open because you go to substandard services so that you can pay your stockholders more, so that you can have stock buybacks, so that you can have all these things. Come on, folks. They have been snowing you for a very long time. They have your eyes off the ball. They have you thinking about all the things that you don't need to think about, even as they pilfer you. Is the worker revolt going to happen? Or are we going to keep this false notion about the MAGA versus this and all? Look, you know why MAGA is MAGA? They're looking for answers too, because they know something is up. Unfortunately, they had the wrong man to ride, because they are riding somebody who pilfered them. But they are looking. All of us need to be looking. All of us need to be doing the right thing. Then there's the way Wall Street squeezes out new home buyers by gobbling up houses and turning them into rentals. Let's not forget that John Deere recently announced moving jobs from the United States to Mexico, while feasting on government contracts and, of course, using job cuts to finance what again? Stock buyback. So we have Wall Street that's buying up homes. You go to any community with middle price homes, and you know what? You see a lot of empty homes, a lot of homeless, but a lot of empty homes. Why are they empty? They have owners, corporate owners, and they have the ability to keep these homes off the market. If they keep these homes off the market, what happens? The price of rentals go up because there is a shortage of homes, because there's a false scarcity by those who just hold on to these homes. And it's happening everywhere, from Atlanta, Georgia, to Houston, Texas, to everywhere. And you want to know why the prices of these homes are going skyrocketing? Get ready for the bubble to burst, folks. And then they're going to be coming back for some more corporate welfare when that occurs. Do we even have to mention how Big Pharma is charging us more than it does? Canadians, I mean, imagine that. Where is the glory, glory, hallelujah? Where is I love America? Where is we think America first? That's what they like to say, right? We care about America, but you know what? Big Pharma sells their drugs at a good price in Canada. They sell their products at good prices in France. They sell their drugs at good prices in Great Britain. Good prices everywhere but the United States. They pilfer you, and you support them. You support the big orange man that is there, that says as soon as he gets into office, he's promised the oil industry another $1 billion. He's promised the pharmaceuticals something else. He's promised all these rich people that are now giving him $50 million here, $25 million there, $10 million here, that he's going to serve them first. He claims he's going to give something to the workers for the restaurant industry. I'm not going to tax your tips. No, you don't need to tax your tips. You need to get rid of tips and tell these guys to pay these guys a living wage instead of the $2.13 an hour they make. Do we have to mention Big Pharma again? The ripoff to feed their profits, which then gets shipped to the richest of the rich via stock buybacks. Of the $3 trillion in after-tax U.S. corporate profits in 2022, about $1.31 trillion, about half, went to stock buybacks. That creates nothing. Remember, stock buybacks used to be illegal. But Reagan allowed tax buybacks, and since then they have pilfered us. Since then, our productivity have gone through the roof, but our wages have stayed stagnant. Not until we had this new type of progressive input that Brother Biden actually brought in because of the stimuli, etc., did we start to see some of this being mitigated. But since Reagan, there has not been really a real increase in the aggregate on your wages. There has not been. Corporate welfare, just hearing what phrases makes me nauseous because it's a stark reminder of how feeble we are. Progressives have been complaining about government giveaways to large corporations at least since 1970s, and the practice has only grown. I'll bet you already know how bad it is. We taxpayers give the oil industry about $20 billion a year. And guess what? Another billion is being promised a year in subsidies, while BP, Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Total Energies plow $104 billion in dividend and stock buybacks. Think about this. This is the money in excess of operation. This is money in excess of executive pay. This is money in excess of all these things, an extra $104 billion in stock buybacks, and we're giving them more money in subsidies. Think about that, folks. Greed. Is it ever enough? No. Wall Street may be getting as much as $800 million a day via the Federal Reserve, according to one report. You ever heard of quantitative easing? I have yet to find a credible source that adds it all up. I'm guessing it's well over $1 trillion a year in direct subsidies, tax breaks, and financial markets. Talking about welfare, they talk about the welfare mom or welfare dad who people get pissed off because I saw them put a stake in that cart, and then they paid with food stamps. You know who's getting the most food stamps and your money? The corporations are. And the money, and it is quantifiable and verifiable. And we allow it. We fight each other. We fight the welfare recipient. We look at them with disdain. Working class revolt, folks, is ultimately what's going to come. The pitchforks. We're nowhere near any kind of organized mass uprising, but American workers are not stupid. They may not be able to spell out in detail how they're getting ripped off, but they know it's happening. Most importantly, they understand that the government works for the rich and not them. That's why so many are willing to support a train-wrecking outsider who attack the government, even when they are anti-worker billionaire buffoons. In 1964, 77% of Americans had trust in the federal government. Now it's 16%. 16% of us don't trust we the people. And you know why? Because we the people continuously allow the rich to snow us into electing buffoons. And in so doing, they pilfer us. And then we say, oh my God, look how bad it is. Well, it's in your hands. And in November, again, it is in your hands. It is in your hands. And with that, let's go to Brother Johnny on line 1. Folks, remember, it's 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Let me see those lines fill up. And women, some of the most attacked in this country where wages are concerned. I would love to hear your point of view as well. Johnny, come on in, my brother.
Good morning, my brother from another mother. Well said.
Yes, sir.
David Pakman, both you and David Pakman do an excellent job of showing how people in media, in establishment media, know how to cherry pick numbers and play with numbers to present a false picture of reality. So good for that. I want to dovetail something what you said earlier on your economic rant, starting with Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer and other common folk shows back in the day before we can call them pre-reality TV, what they did was a sleight of hand. They would dumb down the public by showing how stupid some people are, and the people at home watching who don't bother to watch the news will watch that, and they feel better about themselves. And then they hear and see Jerry Springer at the end of each of his shows give what seems to be a well-thought-out, sincere, thoughtful observation of the day. And that's the trickery involved in his show and of TV advertising in general, and the Republican Party and the Democratic Party to a lesser degree. They all snow people every single day. They deflect, they project. I'm talking about the Republicans now. They project, they deflect, they lie, cheat, and steal. And TV advertising helps on that continuum to dumb down the population. Don't forget, the funding for TV advertising at the end of the day is rooted in the deep pockets of the American corporate industrial oligarchy, not you and me. I don't pay for these production companies to make TV ads, these stupid, inane ads for insurance, let's say, a woman in an apron, in a white apron, and a young Jamie in a white apron. What is that? That's phony. These people aren't real. And they pretend they have some kind of unique, inventive approach to insurance. We bundle. Yeah, Liberty says the same thing. There's nothing innovative about insurance. It's like making shiny stones and selling them in a jewelry store. Where's the real value to that? And then, after the hurricane hit in Katrina, you've seen a whole bunch of homeowners who've been dutifully paying their monthly premiums for years and decades get sold out at the last minute, and they didn't get a penny from the insurance company. There was one or two insurance companies back in the day that did that. In the state of Mississippi and Alabama, all those poor people, the MAGA, that's right. Where does MAGA come from? You pointed it out. That's right. It comes from people angry, justifiably so, and they were deflected to support someone like Donald Trump, a phony baloney populist, not Bernie. Bernie was the actual populist. And when I did cold calling for Bernie, they would say, Bernie who? A lot of people said, Bernie who? When I would call these voters in Mississippi and Alabama. And the few who did know Bernie's name, recognize his name, they would say, oh, he's a socialist. And I would try to point out to them that your guy that you're looking to vote for, Donald Trump, he's stolen. He's hijacked all of Bernie's or many of Bernie's economic talking points in order to get you to go, yeah. But then the next day, going down that escalator where he paid people $50 each to be there to cheer him on, he would talk racist and xenophobic and all kinds of other nonsense. And then he fantasized about having sex with his daughter and about a 10-year-old girl going up an escalator. And all the guys in Alabama and Mississippi, those beer-bellied, middle-aged white guys who like that, they go, oh, yeah, that solidifies my vote for him. He's my man. So advertising and the Republican Party, they both suck. They service the American corporate industrial oligarchy, and this is why we have what we have.
Johnny, thank you, my brother, for that. Let me just qualify something here. One of the reasons you see me give up on nobody, one of the reasons you see me respectful to everybody is I understand the dynamics. I understand that if I discount my MAGA brother and sister, if I discount my progressive brother and sister, if I discount my anarchist brother and sister, I get to do exactly what the corporation tells me to do, what the system tells me to do. I am fighting the people who should be on our side, and I won't do that. I will make sure and break bread with everybody, because if we don't, we're doing exactly what the corporate puppeteers are making us do. Thank you for that insightful comment, my dear brother Johnny.
And thank you for what you do.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to brother Joe. Come on in, Joe.
Hey, good morning, Egberto. Greetings from the Kingwood bus stop. Hey,
you're not too far from me, my brother.
Well, good deal, man. It's a beautiful day. So I had a couple of thoughts here the last week. You know, we couldn't call in, and the last I heard from you, you know, I laid some facts out there, and you said, you know what, you got bad facts. You need to change your information source. And then
yes,
the
I said that.
Week, what's that?
Yeah, I said yes. You're correct. I said that, sir.
Well, yeah. So the following week, you know, you pumped out ABC and you pumped out MSNBC, a lot of MSNBC, and that to me that was just like spitting in my face, because there is nothing more fake than MSNBC. And then you went on a rant, a rant where you attacked Tim Scott, and called him a liar, right? And I just listened to a lot of the facts that you came out with, right? And there were a couple that stuck out. Number one, you said, I don't care what they say, crime is down in this country.
True.
And number two, if only for the the great leadership of Obama, we avoided an Ebola plague, right?
True.
Well, let's just take number one. So I guess you don't know this because you rely on MSNBC narrative instead of data.
Hold on, wait. Let me just stop you right there. I don't interrupt you generally. But I am Joe. Stop. I am going to let you speak. I just want to I don't want to forget to tell you that because you are telling the audience at large something about myself that isn't true. I use MSNBC for the videos because I find they are the ones that are more able to speak up against the corporatocracy. That's the reason I use them. Number two, all of my sourcing comes from various areas, not just newspapers or TV, but actual federal data and all around. I work 16 hours a day, and I look not only on what is pumped through TV, but I actually examine the data from the NIH, I examine the data from the labor, the Institute of Labor, and also from all the different think tanks, including conservative think tanks. So I want what you said is a patent incorrect statement. Continue.
Well, you missed the ball on your crime stats because the new FBI database that the stats you were relying on, they still don't have participation from 22% of the police forces in the country, including the New York Police Department and the LA Police Department. Their statistics are not included in the numbers that you cite, right? In fact,
that is
6,000. I believe it's 6,000 police departments have not yet reported to this new database, right? So no wonder crime is down.
Okay, no. Let me stop you. Let me stop you there again. Again, we want to speak facts. If we're looking at this, if we're comparing apples to apples, let me give you that there's 6,000 of the several tens of thousands of police departments that report in. I'll give you that. But if you take a look at the constancy of what's actually reported to the FBI, and if that trend is going downward, and if the number in each of those individual cities that you just mentioned, like you mentioned New York City trends, even though you said it's not reported in the FBI, New York City reports on its own, and its trends are down. What I'm saying is, the right, it comes out and tells you, don't forget that these cities are not included in the data. All right, but what do those individual cities not included in the FBI data say or come out with? And the truth of the matter, this is not an arguable thing, Joe. Crime rate is down. It doesn't matter how you try to spin it. It is down.
Open your eyes, man. No one will believe that.
I don't. Again, brother Joe. Joe, wait. I'll let you get to Ebola. Joe, I'll let you get to Ebola. I promise you that. But let me just say this. All right. I'm not going to allow the people listening to this program to get the thing that a lot of these other false data are saying. Crime is down. I ask people that are listening to me right now, when was the last time in your area, and everybody, we are all over Houston, that the crime you see on TV has actually affected you? On TV, there is a narrative, and then there's your life. I live in Kingwood. You live in Kingwood. All right. You know as well as I do, the place is pretty darn safe. I have friends that are living in the ghetto right now. And guess what? It's pretty damn safe. Continue, my friend. Go with Ebola now.
You're not going to allow the people to have any other viewpoint. Okay, understood. So Ebola, you said that if only for if not for the progressive wisdom that it staved off an Ebola pandemic. Well, that is ridiculous, Egberto, because there's not going to be an Ebola pandemic, because, at least until they do some more creative genetic engineering, because Ebola has to be transferred by fluids, right? So to say that Obama was great because he fought off Ebola is ridiculous on its face, right?
Why would that be?
So because it's not transmittable. It's not an airborne virus
that is not true. I mean, look, it doesn't have to be an airborne virus, sir. Sir, again, somebody gets on a plane with the precursor to Ebola, they land in this country, and it spreads because that is statistically incorrect. Let me tell you what Obama did that President Trump didn't do. When they found out about this, they went to the sources, and they went to all the area. They didn't make believe this thing didn't exist until it overcame us. They went ahead and they proactively searched and proactively ensured that it didn't make it over here in any substantial manner. It has nothing to do with progressives. It just has to do with being responsible. Bush had his own as well. I think it was H1N1, and he acted responsibly as well. Bush acted responsibly. Obama acted responsibly. Trump didn't.
Well, you know what? When Trump saw this coming out of China, he shut down all the flights out of China. But what was he then? He was called a racist, right? Nothing could be further than the truth. Look, Trump is a lightning rod for the elites that you claim to go against. He absolutely is a lightning rod, and they have to see him destroyed on all fronts. Right. And yet, you talk about Bernie. The last guy talked about Bernie. Who stabbed Bernie in the back? It was
Hillary Clinton and her crew. Yes, they were. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yes, that's right. And now you continue to prop them up. Right.
No,
again. So honestly, I don't see why
Joe,
a man would do that.
Joe, let me tell you, you will never hear me. In fact, you hear me. First of all, holding out a hand to you, don't I? You don't see me. You come on my show, and I don't try to censor you or whatever you say. Not only that, you hear me speak about the neoliberals, and you hear me speak about the neoliberal faction of the Democratic Party is no different than the moderate faction of the Republican Party. You hear me say that. If you go ahead and take a look at fact check bias, you'd hear them say that I am one of the few progressives who go out on and give the Democratic Party, hold the Democratic Party to task. Go to Media Fact Check, and you'll see that that's how they define EgbertoWillies.com, my news site. So no, that is again, brother. I am actually trying to bring. Wait, hold on. There you go. Well, do your own fact check. Then I have a whole body of work out there that's not hidden from anybody. So the body of work is out there for all to see. So that's all you got to do, and you don't have to assume. You just have to go look. But brother, I got more calls that I got to get to, and I appreciate you calling. You call as much as you want because you got a platform here as well. All right.
Thanks,
take care, brother.
Hey, and keep that quality of work up, bud, because MSNBC ain't cutting it. Have a good one.
Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to brother Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning.
Good.
First off, I want to tell you thank you for standing up for yourself. You do have some callers that call in, and all they do is it's just a straw man argument. They call in, then they tell you what you said, which isn't true. Then they try and talk over you. Then they try and discredit you. You spend a lot of time researching. Obviously, Joe hasn't looked at your citations. Either that or he's just not being genuine, and he's not genuine most of the time. He calls CO2 plant food. I'm not trying to cut him down or anything, but what these guys are doing is they're trying to take 10 to 15 minutes out of your program every day, which amounts to an entire program time a week. I would be very surprised if their motivation wasn't any more than to disrupt you and get people to question you. But that's not why I called in. I called in about subsidies last week on Monday. There was a really interesting conversation that got cut short because of time between you and Brian. Brian, for some reason, has the idea that only a high-profit corporation or entity should receive subsidies, which I found was very, very strange. That's what I got out of the conversation. He was saying Amtrak shouldn't get subsidies because it doesn't make a profit, but oil companies should because they do make a profit. It's my understanding that a subsidy is even a playing field for somebody trying to get into an industry or a service or something. So you help, the government steps in, helps them get a start. We even without one penny of subsidies going from tax dollars to oil companies, that would still be the highest subsidized entity on the planet, in my opinion. We need to ask ourselves, where is most of this oil coming from? If it's not near half, I'd be surprised. It's from offshore and from public lands. Now, we own those public lands. We own those offshore minerals. We own all those minerals. So what we're doing is we're subsidizing an entity that takes something that we own, we lease land that we own, then we subsidize them with tax money. Then they turn around and sell something to us that we own at a profit, and they don't even do it responsibly because they're not handling the negative side effects from this product. We've got a terrible amount of land is considered Superfund sites. Nobody can live there. You can't develop there. You can't run a business there. You can't let wildlife in. That's a subsidy. All this is all you're talking about how we're getting fleeced. That's the biggest fleece I've heard. And then the fact that somebody will turn around and argue for it, that is crazy.
Patrick, I couldn't nail it any better than you just did. And yes, the biggest welfare recipients are companies like oil companies who take our own resources that we, the people, own, profit from it, sell it to us at inflated prices, and walk home to the bank. And that's why the skyscrapers that we build, we can't even go into, as those executives profit and laugh themselves to the bank. Thank you very much for those wise words, Patrick.
Well,
all right, let's go to Augie. Come on in, Augie. And sorry, I've got a whole bunch of calls that I got to get through. Come on in, Augie.
I understand. Yeah, I enjoyed your Thursday, Friday show and with all the information you had. But people like to focus on the bad news. And that's why the local news channels have all this thing about crime. Everybody wants to hear about the bad news. They don't want to hear about the good news. At one time, one channel decided, what happens if we put just good news and not the bad? Well, people stopped listening to their shows. Their viewership dropped because they're just talking about the good. And just recently, I was talking to this Republican, and he was talking about how, man, everything's so bad, listening to the TV news. But then I told him, hey, don't they just say the bad news? They also have the good. But people don't remember the good stories that the news channel have. They just focus on the bad, and that's all they do is focus on the bad news. And there's a lot of stuff on there that they're telling you, like those Republicans, they want to put the Ten Commandments all over the place in public schools. And Christianity doesn't come from the Ten Commandments. That's the Old Testament. The New Testament is Christ, wherein they call themselves Christians. And Christ said he came to change things. And he put the Beatitudes. If you want to put some Christian in the classroom, put the Beatitudes, not the Ten Commandments. And they used all kind of stuff. They twisted, the Republicans do. Right now, there was a Republican put out $50 million for Trump. I don't have $50 million myself I can put out there, but I have got a vote I can use. But a lot of people are ignored him, like Joe. I have a bunch of acquaintances, relatives, and friends like Joe, and I got to talk to them too. And consistently, they know when they say something like Joe does, my relatives, acquaintances, and stuff, and tell them the facts. I even tell strangers when I hear them someplace saying something like Joe does, I'll confront the facts. And
let me use that as a breaking point. Let me use that as a breaking point where you said you confront them. I'm glad for that. And I wouldn't even say confront that. Have a good civil conversation, which I think is what works in the long run. I know what Patrick said about Joe calling in to take 15 minutes of time. I just want to tell Patrick, I agree that a lot of that is done. But guess what? We have hundreds of thousands of listeners, readers, and watchers. And in doing so, even if we don't get to Joe, we're getting to some of them because they're sitting in the back and say, oh, I heard the same things that Joe heard. But now that Egberto or Augie or Art or somebody else says something else, I open my frame of reference. I open myself to thinking not just what's been told, but given everything a weight, a thought process. And that's what works. Augie, I need to go to the other callers because we have very little time, but thank you so kindly for all you do and giving us a call with the insight as well, my brother.
Yeah, well, thanks for what you do, too. And I had a friend like Joe, but he saw the light eventually. In fact, a couple of people told me they saw the light, and one of them that Obama the second time around. And
thank you, brother. I got to go, Augie. I love you, brother, but I got to go. Let's go to Art. Come on in, Art. You only got a 1 minute, Art. I'm sorry. Oh, Art's gone. Let's go to Donald. Come on in, Donald. 1 minute. Brother Donald, you're on. Hey, how you doing, brother?
Hey, remember the cartoons, Ralph and George. Ralph would go punch the time clock and George would. Ralph was a sheepdog. George was a coyote. And they each had jobs. That's just what it is. We need to stop looking and start looking at the cartoons because now it's just violence and hyperactivity and everything else. Used to cartoons were actually political hidden messages. And people need to analyze stuff and keep doing what you're doing, Egberto.
Thank you, brother. You know something? Donald, hold on. Donald, hold on. Let me tell you. I am glad you said that. Those were the days when, they make those cartoons and even children programs. You'd watch some children programs sometimes and you'll say, my God, that children don't understand that. That's a hidden message that they're telling you because they know you're watching the programs with your child. But thank you for noticing that, brother. Peace. All right, let's go to Brian. Brian, you got a minute. Come on in.
Okay. I want to go back to the man that said that 1,000 people were thrown in the molten vat building the Titanic. Yes, it was a man. If I was upper management, I would like to know where more than $1 million worth of steel went when I was building a ship. Let's say 1,000 people and $100,000 vessel was blown up. I think I would want to know where that money went. But the man believes it. He also said that the IRA was fighting the British. That is incorrect. The IRA put bombs on double-decker buses and blew innocent people up. The IRA is a terrorist organization. You also had a woman on that went to Thailand and got sick and had to pay $140 for health care. What is the exchange rate in Thailand? It's 36 Thailand dollars to 1 U.S. American dollar. The average wage in Thailand dollars, is less than $2,800. So even if she paid $140, how much did she pay for health care in that country? About $3,000. Okay? I don't know where you get your fact checkers, but your fact checkers are wrong. That's what's wrong with society today, is lack of freedom of speech due to fact checkers that say, no, I'm wrong.
All right, let me correct you now. First of all, when you talk about the IRA, let's remember this. One person's terrorist is the other person's freedom fighter. Our founding fathers in those days are considered terrorists because they went against the government. They raised arms against the government that ran the colonies. That's a statement of fact. We revere them because they did what was necessary to give us our independence as an independent nation. Did they kill a lot of British soldiers to do that? Yes. Did they kill a lot of innocent people to do that? Yes. Am I for that? No. The IRA, they wanted their they wanted their freedom. We can go into the potato famine and all those different actions. Again, another person's freedom fighter is somebody else's liberator. That's why Sinn Féin went into politics. Sinn Féin is now a political party of a more liberated Ireland. So let's be clear here. Let's not get exact. When we talk about killing, trying to make what the IRA did, it was really bad. But then again, Bush came into Panama to get Manuel Antonio Noriega and in the process killed 10,000 Panamanians. What was that compared to what the IRA did? Is a dead person a dead person a dead person? Of course they are. So we have to be measured and we have to be intellectual in the way we go through these matter of facts that you're talking about. When it comes to the the exchange rate in Thailand. Oh yeah, you're correct. But that dollar in the baht in Thailand doesn't buy the same as $1 in America. Okay, so when you try to make that 36-to-1 comparison, you're absolutely incorrect. And then the policies that Thailand used for healthcare, whether you have money or not, you get healthcare. It does not apply in the United States of America. The United States of America is a country that puts capital before people. That's not me saying, that is what actually happens. And one of our problems, my dear brother Brian, and I love you to death, I love that you're calling in here, is that too many good people like you are out there defending a system that is there to screw you. I got to get out of here. So I appreciate your call. I made you speak. And I answered. I got to get to Joe. Comment to brother Jack. Jack, give me a quick closer. We don't have any time.
Quit paying the people who are enslaving you.
Thank you so kindly. Anyway, folks, thank you so kindly for your listeners, the callers, everybody. Love you all. I mean that from the depths of my heart. I got to get out of here. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter for the rest of the program because we only got to one subject. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.